My mom said, "If you don't like living with family, you can leave." I paid $11,400 in bills while they lived rent-free in my house. That night, I slept in my car. At sunrise, I made one transfer, and by noon, they were locked out with nowhere to go. So my mom, with her arms all crossed like she just unlocked the secret to life, throws out, "If you don't like living with family, you can leave." I just stood there, drenched from hauling groceries up 3 flights in the rain. I mean, my hoodie was soaked, my knees were begging for mercy, and my phone was buzzing like mad with work stuff I hadn't had a chance to check because I spent the day cleaning the kitchen after my brother left it looking like a frat house explosion. And what do I get for all that? No thanks for the food, no sorry for flipping out last night when you wanted some privacy. Just a reminder that I'm lucky to have a roof over my head, as she turned around like she just dropped some epic wisdom. But get this, I paid for that roof, $11,400 over 10 months, to be exact. I was covering everything: rent, Wi-Fi, water, gas, groceries, streaming subscriptions, even that insane electric bill they forgot last winter. It was my apartment, my name on the lease. Heck, my credit was on the line, but somehow, it was our place, and I apparently owed them more. The kicker? I let them do this. I gave my home office to my brother so he could game without stress. I cooked dinner almost every night. I vacuumed. I paid for mom's allergy meds because she didn't want to deal with insurance. I just sucked it up because that's what you're supposed to do for family, right? But as soon as I asked for just an hour of peace without TikTok blaring through the walls, mom hits me with "We're your family. Act like it." That night, I didn't head back inside. Nope, I crashed in my car. Feet freezing on the floor mat, back seat digging into me like a metal rib cage. I lay there under an old moving blanket, staring up at the ceiling, wondering how I ended up being the bad guy in my place. At dawn, I got up, walked to the nearest 24/7 gas station, and bought a coffee with the last $5 I had on Venmo. Then, I made a quiet little bank transfer. Just a few taps, a confirmation code, and bam, she didn't know it yet, but her time there was up. They had moved in 10 months ago, just for a little while, mom said in her sweet guilty voice she uses for favors. Just until your dad's surgery clears, just until your brother finishes the semester. And I agreed. Dumb, right? The lease was in my name. I had the master bedroom. After 5 years in finance, I finally had a place that felt like mine. I had an office with a window, a decent mattress, a kitchen with sharp knives. But 2 weeks after they arrived, it was like the place stopped being mine. Dad made a permanent dent in my recliner, and the TV never turned off. Mom took over my pantry, my fridge got covered in religious magnets, and there were sticky notes on my food like "Don't touch mom's yogurt," like I was the guest. My brother Jason took over my office. Literally. "Bro, I need a place to study. Finals are killing me," he said, already dragging his stuff in before I could even answer. He was 23, taking online classes, and flunking too. I asked him to keep it down after 10 p.m. because I had early meetings. His response? "It's not just your place, man. Chill." By month 3, I was cooking every meal because nobody else was into frozen stuff. I was paying all the bills because they were still waiting on Dad's disability check. I scrubbed the bathroom I shared with a guy who didn't grasp the concept of vanishing soap. Yet, somehow, they acted like they were doing me a favor, like I should be grateful for their company. Then the first real humiliation hit. It was a Tuesday and I was late for a Zoom meeting. My charger was missing again, Jason had swiped it. I knocked on the door of my old office to get it back, and he didn't even pause his game. "Bro, I told you, don't knock like that. You're freaking out my squad." I was stunned, standing there in my apartment, asking for my own charger. Then Mom popped her head out of the kitchen and said, "Sweetheart, just let him focus. He's under a lot of pressure." I was the one under pressure, working 12-hour shifts to cover everything for 4 people, but no one seemed to notice. And then Facebook decided to rub salt in the wound. A picture popped up, tagged by my aunt, a family barbecue in my living room, using my grill. Dad smiling with a beer, Jason with his arm. So, there was this photo floating around of some girl I didn't even know. My mom had captioned it, "Family is everything. Nothing more sacred than being under one roof together." Funny thing, though, I wasn't in the picture because I was stuck in my room working on editing someone else's budget report for the 3rd time. No invite, no heads up, not even a plate saved for me. But the comments kept coming, like "So happy you're all together again. Your boys look so grown up, and what a beautiful home." My mom even replied to one saying, "We're blessed. It's ours, but it feels like heaven." Ours? That was the breaking point for me, but apparently not for them because that's when things really started to go downhill. Jason, my brother, started using my Uber account. I only found out when I got hit with a $92 charge for a ride at 2 a.m. He denied it until I showed him the receipt with his drop-off address. Then he had the nerve to say, "You make six figures. You're really counting pennies now?" I asked my mom about it, and she just sighed. "You know how hard it is for him to ask for help. Just let it go." Then my dad chimed in, "You're getting bitter. I didn't raise you to be selfish." I didn't say anything back because I was too busy watching my savings account slowly drain away. The family group chat was the worst. It started small, with Jason sending memes, mom posting blurry pics of the cat, and dad attempting to make jokes. But one night, I found a picture of me asleep at my desk, taken through the crack of my door. It was captioned, "Look at this guy. Works all day and still can't afford to move out," followed by dozens of laughing emojis. My cousin replied, "Bro looks like a sad office NPC." Someone even made a GIF out of it. I just stared at it for 20 minutes without blinking. I stormed into the living room, phone in hand, but nobody owned up to taking the pic. Jason just shrugged, "Relax, man. It's just jokes." Dad didn't even bother to look up, telling me not to act like a baby. "It's family," they said. My mom, sipping her tea, added, "You're always so sensitive. Maybe if you got more sleep, you wouldn't look like that." That night, I checked the lease, the same one they never bothered to read, and realized something chilling. They treated me like a servant because they thought I wouldn't do anything about it. The next day, I dug up my external drive, where I'd been collecting everything during lockdown: screenshots, spreadsheets, voice notes, rent receipts, and audio recordings, including one where my mom said, "Don't tell him we used the rent money for Jason's laptop. He'll just get dramatic." I saved everything. Then I checked the shared Wi-Fi router logs and found out Jason had been using my email to apply for crypto accounts. When I confronted him, he denied it until I played a voice memo from a customer service call, his voice using my name. I didn't lose my cool. I backed up all the files and sent them to a lawyer friend, uploaded them to the cloud, and secured them in a private email. Then I did the one thing they didn't expect. I contacted our landlord and told him I'd be moving out at the end of the month, taking the lease with me. Jason was about to lose his gaming cave, mom her yoga nook, and dad his recliner and cable. And when they asked why, I'd show them the photo and the mocking comments that came with it. The knock came at 7:18 a.m., way too early for anyone in this house to be up. But I was ready, dressed with coffee in hand, waiting for this moment for 2 weeks. Jason stumbled out, looking rough and asking if I could answer the door. "You might want to be up now," I said. He blinked, confused. The knocking got louder. On the other side were 3 people, Mr. Collins, our landlord, Officer Romero from the city, and a woman in a navy blazer from the housing board. Jason opened the door, nearly dropping his Red Bull. "Good morning," Mr. Collins said without a smile. "I'm here to inspect the premises for a tenant complaint." Jason looked back at me, his voice already cracking. "Complaint?" "Yeah," I said, stepping forward. Apparently, someone filed a complaint about illegal activity and tenant abuse under my name. I didn't flinch because I knew who did it. 3 nights ago, I got an email from the rental board. Someone had filed a report accusing me of overcrowding, verbal abuse, and theft. Anonymously, of course. But guess whose IP address matched the one tied to the complaint? Jason's. I had the full server trace printed out. So, there I was, standing in my apartment as Officer Romero turned to me and asked, "You're the one on the lease, right?" I nodded, already digging out my driver's license and a copy of the lease. "Yep, that's me. Leaseholder, utilities all under my name, and I've never missed a rent payment." I offered to show him my bank statements, just in case. Romero looked over at Jason, who seemed a bit nervous. "And these folks? How do they fit in?" Jason hesitated for a second before blurting out, "We're family." But the problem was, they weren't on the lease at all. Collins, the housing board guy, flipped through some papers and confirmed, "Right, only one name, and it's yours." That's when the shouting kicked off. My mom appeared in her robe, looking all flustered. "Aaron, what's going on? Why are these people in our house?" Collins jumped in, "Ma'am, this place is rented to your son. Officially, you're not supposed to be here without permission." She was taken aback, stammering a bit, "But, we're family." Romero pulled out his notepad and asked her if she had any mail or documents showing she lived there. Just then, my dad walked in, shirtless and grumpy, like his Sunday golf plans just got cancelled. "You can't just walk into our home like this." But I had to remind him, It's not your home. It's mine. Or at least, it used to be. I turned to Jason, and it clicked. I know you filed the complaint. He looked shocked, but I had the proof. I handed a printout to Collins, showing trace data from his device. Same time you borrowed my charger, I added. Romero looked it over and said, well, this is pretty clear. Collins told them they had 48 hours to pack up and leave, or face formal eviction, which would go into the report anyway. The reality of the situation settled over them. Jason went pale, Mom sank into the couch, and Dad looked ready to explode. You're tearing our family apart, he yelled. I was calm. No, you guys did that when you laughed at me in the group chat and posted my face online like a joke. I showed them a second folder with all the financial records and chats. I tapped my phone, playing back a recording of my dad's voice. Let's just drain him. He makes good money. He owes us for raising him. My mom chimed in, don't mention the laptop or crypto stuff. He gets dramatic. Jason tried to grab my phone, but Romero stepped in. I'd advise you to calm down. The final blow came from Collins. Since they're not on the lease, and it's expiring soon, you've requested a non-renewal. I nodded. That means none of them can come back. In 48 hours, the locks will be changed, Jason whispered. You're bluffing. I pulled out a receipt from the locksmith I booked for Friday. Try me. I started to leave, pausing just long enough to say, you told me I could leave. Well, now you're the ones who have to pack. The door clicked shut behind me, and I didn't look back. Later that night, I got the first transfer of $3,000 with a note from Mom, for everything. Hope it helps. I didn't smile or get mad. I just took a screenshot and stuck it in a new Google Drive folder called Dead Accounts. The next one came at dawn, $600 from Jason, saying he didn't realize how much it hurt me. Dad sent $2,000 with no words, just numbers. Altogether, $5,600. But compared to the $114,000 I spent on our bills, rent, and everything else, it was more like a last-ditch attempt to buy back my forgiveness. 2 days before all this, I finished a detailed document, 14 pages of financial breakdown I called 10 months of loyalty, one invoice. It listed all the expenses, rent, utilities, groceries, medical stuff, Jason's gadgets, and more, totaling $114,000. The line at the bottom read, amount repaid by family, $0. I added, funds received post-eviction, $5,600, emotionally irrelevant. I sent it to Mom's old Gmail, Jason's Telegram, and Dad's iCloud. Mom called me 3 minutes later. I blocked her number. Then I got busy, disconnected from all joint accounts, canceled their streaming services, wiped out the family phone plan Dad never paid for, and opened a new savings account just for me. I changed all my passwords and beefed up my security. I'd had enough of this chaos for convenience or until payday. To keep myself focused, I made my phone wallpaper a simple black text on white, move on. So, the last time I shelled out big bucks for some family piece, it set me back a cool $114,000. I swore I wouldn't do that again. Just days after, my mom figured out a sneaky way to get in touch. She hit me up through her sister's account, kind of like a kid borrowing the neighbor's Wi-Fi to escape parental controls. Her message was dripping with guilt, we didn't mean to hurt you. Don't throw us away. Jason's feeling awful. Your dad's embarrassed. You wanted space but not like this, right? I didn't bother using words to answer her. I just sent over one telling file, a PDF of the lease termination signed and sealed, dated the day I booted them out for good. I even scribbled on it, this ends our legal, financial, and emotional contract. Goodbye. Once I sent that off, it was radio silence. Not a peep from Jason, especially after I locked him out of my PayPal where he'd been sneakily using my account for his Fortnite subscriptions for ages. Yep, I knew all about it and waited for the right moment before shutting that down with a single click. Before I deleted the chat thread, I forwarded the $5,600 apology money to a youth housing charity. The note attached read, let someone else start where I had to end. There was silence after that, but this time it was my kind of silence, not the tense, angry quiet of a cramped home with 4 big personalities and just one steady paycheck. I enjoyed my coffee on the balcony, with only the sound of traffic and birds for company. No yelling, no gamer outbursts, no restless pacing outside my door. This was my space now, my lease, my lock, my new beginning. I took one last step and opened Google Drive, right-clicked on the old folder stuffed with family photos, messages, bills, and hit Move to Trash. When the confirmation popped up asking if I was sure, I didn't hesitate for a second. I was already halfway out the door. They always called me the good one, the quiet, responsible, dependable one. The one who kept up with messages, paid the bills, bought groceries, remembered birthdays, and forgave over and over. I thought that made me strong, but I've realized it just made me convenient. Being useful isn't the same as being loved. It took me months and a hefty price tag to understand that being needed doesn't mean being valued, that loyalty without boundaries is just another word for servitude, and that expected kindness becomes a leash. They never asked if I was okay, they just kept asking what more I could give. And I gave them everything: money, my workspace, my peace of mind, my silence, until I finally decided enough was enough. People think big breakups are loud and messy, but sometimes the most powerful ones are quiet. No screaming, no door slamming. Just a decision made and never looked back on. No revenge posts, no public callouts, no angry messages in capital letters. Just one transfer, one lease termination, one signed PDF, and then nothing. It wasn't about cruelty, it was all about clarity. That night I slept in my car, feeling like an outsider in my own home, was the final push I needed. My mom's voice echoed in my head: "If you don't like living with family, you can leave." She said it like a challenge, not an option. So, I took that challenge and raised her with my silence. Now, I wake up without checking my phone. I savor my coffee while it's still hot. My shoes stay put where I left them. My groceries last the week. And my name isn't a punchline in their jokes anymore because it's not in their conversations. It's not theirs to mock now. I used to think helping meant love. Turns out, they thought helping meant owing. My biggest mistake wasn't the money, it was not saying no when they first called me ungrateful, not walking away when they laughed at me in family chats, not cutting things off when Jason used my PayPal like his personal bank. Survival taught me to hold on longer than I should have, even to people who only saw me as family when it suited their needs. But I'm done holding on. I'm not heartless, I'm healed. I opened the last app with their names, the family group chat. Dad hadn't messaged in ages. Jason left the group after the eviction. Mom was still there, typing away. I hovered over the chat, hit leave group, confirmed it. The screen blinked, then went blank. And just like that, peace washed over me, not loud or dramatic, just blissfully quiet. If you haven't yet, please subscribe. And hit the notification bell to stay updated with more crazy real life stories happening around you.